Speaking of doing jobs that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Rockefellers.
Dude, I'm obsessed. He's the dude that talked about the astrology, right? That the quote?
No, that's JP Morgan.
Got it. But they're friends.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Because they're all the elites. Rockefellers were like one of the most wealthy, probably the wealthiest family, one of the wealthiest families in the United States and worldwide.
Yeah. Still?
No, I mean, they still have an exuberant amount of wealth.
I was going to say, I didn't know what they're doing now.
But this was the early 1900s, the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were like the ones that controlled all of oil in the United States. Like they owned the oil industry. And they're friends with the like the Vanderbilts, JP Morgan, what's his name? Carnegie, who was Carnegie Steel.
Okay.
So he owned all steel.
I've heard of his haul.
Yeah, so it was basically like Rockefellers were oil, Vanderbilt were railroads, owned the railroad industry, and then Carnegie owned the steel industry. So like these three powerhouse families.
Yeah.
But so it was the Rockefellers who, just out of pure greed, have affected our medical industry for today.
Oh, man.
And our educational industry. And this isn't new news. It's pretty, like, if you go back, you can see how they manipulate everything. But it is depressing.
Oh, no.
Incredibly depressing. So basically, Mr. Rockefeller, he was number one in the U.S. for oil. Like, he was so rich.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to extend his portfolio and gain more control.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, there's this new technology happening where they're making like synthetic medication out of, what do you call it? Petroleum. Petroleum?
Yeah. This is
Yeah. And he's like, I want to get into that because they're using my oil to make these medications. And so he got with the Carnegies and they passed this thing. It was the Flexner Report. And what was it? 1910, funded by the Carnegie Foundation. The report, authored by Abraham Flexner, evaluated medical education in the U.S. and Canada, heavily criticizing school teachings, natural and alternative medicines.
Oh, wow.
So before that, the medical industry in the United States was very holistic, very plant-based medications.
Natural stuff.
And this new invention of synthetic medication came about, and Rockefeller's like, we can own the industry in this. And so he heavily funded all these medical schools, all these hospitals, like John Hopkins, Harvard Medical School, Yale School of Medicine, heavily funded them, but threatened to take away his funding if they did not teach the practice of using the synthetic medicine that his companies owned and invested in.
Wow.
Yeah,
dude.
And if you spoke out against it, you could lose your doctor's license, your medical school could be shut down, your practice could be shut down. So you had to abide by what the Rockefellers put in place for medical standards.
Got to listen to the money.
Yeah.
Golly,
These
man.
people who are trained doctors.
Still exists for sure.
Yeah.
We literally, it's like so reminiscent of what we're seeing today.
But they were the largest investor in this pharmaceutical company called Wyeth, I believe, Wyeth, Wyeth, which ultimately became Pfizer.
No way.
Yeah.
Same company?
Yeah.
Really?
But it's like sickening of just like,
Yeah.
they're literally the ones of why we have all this drug company. They created big pharma, basically.
You know what would be interesting is if we were to analyze that specific event and changing the ways that doctors were learning and being educated, and then also these new medicines that came out and how it correlated with increased cancer rates in Americans.
Yeah, for real.
They have done studies. I believe it was. Hold on. Come back to that. There's a study that I was going to talk about. I'll pull it up, and I don't want to derail you, Josh. But
No, you're good.
yeah. I just want to get. It's a study about vaccinations through your favorite human, Bill Gates, his foundation, in an impoverished nation. I just want to get the correct.
You mean my nemesis?
Yeah.
What if I find out that he's got some like room in his house and it's like his room with all of his enemies on it, and I'm enemy number one.
Champagne bottles. Dave Portnoy, just
We're both each other's
waiting on your
nemesis.
downfall. The thing is, if Bill Gates wanted us gone, the thing is, he could make it happen so quickly.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he could. He really could. It's so scary. Have you seen those graphs? Speaking of graphs, have you seen those graphs that like have nothing to do with each other, but yet they follow the same line? There's a guy I follow on TikTok where he's just like, the number of people that used this medication lines up perfectly with, like the amount of times an alligator had swallowed a child or something, like whatever. But it's just they find
that's
statistics and they find graphs that have the exact same lineup, and they're like, maybe there's a correlation. Maybe
That's
there's
so
not.
funny.
That is so funny.
But I was gonna say with the Rockefellers too, with their educational system.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are they doing with that?
But okay, and do those people then tie in with all those allegations people were having about Kamala Harris's dad?
Oh, I don't know.
Wasn't he like part of the McGraw-Hill?
No, that is Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh,
No.
duh.
That's Tim McGraw and
Why am I
Faith.
They're
Associ-
interchangeable.
Why
really.
am I associating
Just
them in my
kidding.
head? They're literally not.
No, no, they're not.
Ah.
But yeah, so the role of General Education Board, 1902, was heavily financed by the Rockefellers, and through lobbying and stuff, the Rockefellers basically pitched this new educational system that we still use today. So yeah, and so it says they deliberately pushed education toward vocational training, memorization, standardized testing, and compliance over independent thought, creativity, and questioning authority.
Dude, literally. Dude, you know, it's like, yeah. That we're on this whole thing with like where Ada's going to go to school. I mean, you guys are doing it right now. You're like, I'm going to take my girls out of this and we're going to learn the way that we're supposed to learn. You know, that kind of thing with homeschooling. That's what you guys are doing. And we're going to send our girls to this classical Christian school because we need to be able to think independently
Yeah.
and creatively and use logic and reason
Yeah.
instead of here's all this information, swallow that.
They were adamantly against, so it says that they're adamantly against alternative education models such as homeschooling, private independent schools, or holistic and classical education approaches. And basically they would fund the board, they would fund these colleges to teach this standardized method. And it's so creepy. If you go down the rabbit hole, the whole mindset behind this is to create a very predictable society to where they could buy your products. They would be good industrial workers.
Yeah, workers.
And you're creating, it's like a sheep herd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
obedience. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
We'll
you
create
can't-
this world. You listen to it. You'll be fed. You'll have a place to live. It's fine. Just don't question it. Like, don't just stick to our rhythm. Put your kids in this school.
Yeah.
Send them to that school. Do this. And it's just, they want that to be a repeatable
They
pattern
want it a predictable
forever.
thing. Yeah.
And they just don't want to have to worry about
It's
it. But
what we use today.
But
Yeah.
that's not what humans are ever going to do.
No.
Have you seen the clip of Elon Musk's dad talking about taking Elon out of a certain school and moving him into another?
No.
He kept getting called up to the school because Elon wasn't paying attention in class, and he talked to the teacher, and I guess Elon was looking. I watched a podcast where he was like being interviewed, and he was like looking out the window, and he was like, well, what is he doing? He's like, won't pay attention, won't look at me. He was like, have you asked him what he was doing? Like, no, he's supposed to be listening, and he won't. And I guess Elon was like just hyper focused on like a tree or something, and he was like curious about what was happening on the leaf, and like, you know, like he had this like innate thought process on what was going on. And he was like, what you're doing is you want him to sit still, stop thinking, and shut up. He was like, I don't believe in that for him, so I'm going to move him to some place where he can. So he like clearly brilliant mind, and just whether you like him or not, the dude can think. And so he put him in a different school where he was free to like actually explore and wonder, because independent thinkers don't work in that system.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And like, so it literally, creativity has to be crushed. You look at the way we design buildings, like there's that whole conversation about like square, boring architecture.
Is it no coincidence that with the implementation of that and the way that we do schooling now, ADHD and ADD diagnoses have skyrocketed, and it's because human beings don't fit that mold.
Yeah. It also says that their whole point of this school is to stop creating entrepreneurs. Like they wanted
Yeah.
to own the industry. They wanted to own the economy of the United States.
Yeah, of course they do.
And so the school system that we're creating is just to make workers.
That is so evil.
I know.
It's almost like something inherently inside of us wants
Feeding
to be
their
creative.
economy.
Yeah, and like there's something inside of us that wants to fight against that. And it's literally like what we've been created to do. And greed and power, love for that stuff is literally forcing us to, one, I guess that's good because we're recognizing, and hopefully we recognize and say, all right, I'm going to break out of this mold. I'm going to not going to just stick to this because this is not what I've been created to do. I want to chase my own dreams. I want to do what I want to do.
It's so creepy. If you just look at, you can go to any history book and just see these families, Vanderbilts, Rockefellers, the Rothschilds in Europe,
Yeah.
JP Morgan, all of them of just like, it was just 10 families were controlling everything in the world and probably still are today.
Yeah.
Maybe the families changed a little bit, but it's like the wealth stays with these families and they are the
That's how
ones controlling economies, controlling this and that, controlling our education system, controlling our healthcare system. And it's like, it's so freaky to think about, you know?
And that's why we see so many, leaders or politicians or whatever, they literally just get up to that point and they want to do good. They have that in their heart, but they realize that that game is rigged.
Yeah.
And so you have to play ball or you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I'll have a little win here for me. Maybe I'm not doing what I really need to do, but it's for the bigger thing. It's for the future. It's for, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever
I mean,
they have
just
to
like
tell themselves.
even their involvement in wars too. Like pretty much every major war has one of or all of these families involved in them
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like I think we talked about like the Rothschilds of how they were when the Napoleon was basically conquering Europe. They were funding both Napoleon and the England.
Yeah.
And they're just playing their hand of like who's going to win. And then they discovered that like, oh, Napoleon is probably going to lose. So we're going to pool our funding so we know that he's going to lose. And it's just like, this is
They've
insane.
literally
It's all-
written huge chunks of history.
Yeah.
It's all about maintaining power.
Ninjas are butterflies.
Did I say ninja? I meant
The butterfly is no doubt one of God's most